Hello, everyone. This is Valentina Rada, and we continue to talk about applied ethnography. This time we are reaching to the steps of note-taking and some recording techniques. But before I go any farther, I would like to outline an important thing about ethnography as not being a static process. Ethnographic research incorporates multiple types of research methods and techniques, from active participation to passive observation. So be mindful of that it's not as simple as interview and or observations. It can have interviews, it can have focus groups, mapping, we did talk about it previous week, and also note-taking. Okay, so it's a pretty complex research method. So, really quick, my three takeaways from these chapters were related to the steps in interview note-taking. A couple of common mistakes a researcher can do when writing notes, and how to best use photography and video recording. So, about steps in interview note-taking, Palto talks about the importance of using heading for the interviews. So each interview file should have a heading mentioning the date, time, location, the identity of the informant, and other details. So in other words, don't only just go to the interview, but be prepared and make sure that you get organized with how you are going to capture all the details. And the reason he's mentioning the date at the time, you're not going to have only 1, 2, 3 interviews. You may have a multitude of interviews, and being organized in this way and having a heading is going to help you in the long term. Capture the informant contact information. The beginning of the interview file should have a description of how the informant was contacted, who introduced the researchers, the consent procedure, and the location of the interview. Describe the setting. So again, not only jump into interview and observations, but have all this preparation ahead of time, which was going to help you in the long run. Social cultural statements. At some point in the interview, there might be statements about cultural or social background about which the researcher can write an observation or explanation, such as different perspective from other observants or contradicting information that needs to be verified. And you can see on page 108, Palco has pretty good way of observing how this social cultural statements are pretty important, and how you can encounter conflicting information and you can ask questions about why do you think that's that way, or why do you think that person said something in a certain context. So go deeper. The appearance of the informant. It's not only about the interview. It's not only about our simple observation, but go deeper to describe the dress style of the participants, or if there wasn't any personal style during the interview, like were they friendly, were they anxious. Elaborate on your observations about their behavior and how they dress during the interview. And then also mention if there are any interruptions, such as the informant stopping to do other tasks or other people interrupting the interview. Some of them can have some significance in your findings later on. So I really like this idea of identifying a couple of common mistakes when we write notes as researchers. So one of the things Balto says is that interviewer may only mention the most interesting points, failing to give the details of the interview, such as the aim and the intent of the interview, discuss the consent and possible implications. So be mindful that these participants are willing to participate in the interview, and they deserve, if I can say that, the most details possible about your interview, the way it's going to flow, and what is the intent about it. Lack of extended notes. The extended notes don't include local language words and no explanation for strange comments in the interview. Maybe the discussion triggers certain behaviors like anxiety. Note when that had happened. So if as I was saying earlier, during the interview, if there are any distractions, that can impact the continuity of the observation. So make a note of all these distractions. Failing to present the flow of the interview, fail to present the step-by-step flow of the interview. So again, put in front of the participant, what is the step-by-step, what's going to happen, have a quick outline of your interview. And then how notes are written in the third person. So in that case, the voice of participant is just missing. So be mindful of that too when you write your notes. So now, in terms of using photography and video recording, three possible tools here is participatory photography, photo voice, and videotape behaviors. So in terms of participatory photography, just remember that that's a tool to engage community members in making the change to improve their environments. So it's pretty much a tool that it's used by community members and researchers. And Palto at page 121 describes how with participatory photography, researchers can report on group dynamics through the observation of the process. And those are pretty useful for you later on in your findings, especially if you align this photography with the interview process and all the other observations. The next tool would be photo voice, which some of you probably already know is a qualitative method used in community-based participatory research to document and reflect reality. Participants can take photos, which are then sorted, and selections are made of the most important and useful visualizations. On the other hand, as a researcher, be aware that photography may be inappropriate in a certain group of people. So be aware of photographing kids or in hospitals or any abused people. Some people that may reiterate the confidentiality of who they are and don't interfere with that kind of privacy. So also ask for consent when taking photos or asking the research participants to get involved in this process. Videotape behaviors. In terms of videotaping, Palto mentions that schools and classroom behaviors are ideal for video recording because the actions take place in a clearly defined location, which is probably the classroom, and they take place on a daily basis. On the other hand, some of the descriptions of ethnographic marketing research indicate widespread use of video recording, particularly to get data about people's use of specific products. So what you can do in marketing research is allow participants to videotape their behavior on how they use certain products, how they make decisions to purchase those products. So those behaviors can be videotaped. So really quick, we talked about in this In this step, remember, this is a step in the ethnographic research roadmap. It's note-taking. So we talk about the steps in interview note-taking. We talk about some possible common mistakes and how to better use video recording or photography or even photo voice. So, really quick, the questions from this chapter would be, what tools or processes would you use for the interview data gathering? And the second question is, what do you think it is, why do you think it is important to present the informant with a step-by-step flow of the interview? Remember, we said that we give them heads up of the outline of the interview. So, for this video, other than Palto's book, these were my other references. Exciting to be here, and I look forward to your discussions about this chapter and your possible comments, and to engage in the upcoming videos and chapters reflections. Thank you. Have a great week.